Soren sat with a candy bar and a can of cola quickly going flat. The late afternoon traffic of the hospital cafeteria had dulled to almost nothing in his ears as his mind turned over the same events for what felt like the thousandth time. Thanks to Art's nosy nature, last week's meeting at Alvin's had made him feel as if he'd been put under a microscope. Everyone had fired one question after another about the past and his relationship with Callie. How close had they really been? Was he certain that her legal issues hadn't subconsciously caused him to distance himself from her? And of course, there was Alvin's probing line of inquiry. Where do you think you and Callie would be now, if not for all the drama 3 years ago? Last weekend, Soren didn't have an answer to that question. Today, he still didn't. It's not as if he hadn't thought about it. But back then, dating had been secondary to surviving 36-hour shifts without collapsing or killing someone. And now, after reconnecting with Callie, he had to admit that it felt good. That seamless feeling of picking up where they'd left off. And of course, it wasn't as if he didn't want to explore things, unravel if there was only friendship between them or something more. But he needed to take things slowly. At the moment, she was in the process of rebuilding her life. She didn't need unnecessary complications. And then there's what he'd witnessed in the break room. Combining that with a new revelation about what happened 3 years ago made him feel like an idiot. With a sigh, Soren combed his hands through his hair. He couldn't believe that he hadn't made the connection back then. Not because of anything she or he had done, but because of how oblivious he'd been to what had been right in front of him. Solomon Kane. He was warden class, and hailed as the Enclave's enforcer. Or perhaps, cleaner was a more appropriate term. He was her friend. He'd heard the news reports, read the articles, and listened to her stress over the world's opinion about what kind of person she must be. And yet, back then, it hadn't clicked. He could argue that, at the time, his focus had been on Callie, on trying to be a good friend. In their darkest hour, everyone needed to feel that someone was on their side. And for Callie, he wanted to be that someone. Now with his eyes open to her connection to the Enclave, he couldn't help but wonder how many degrees of separation she was from the sanctum of power and its influence over warlock and human society. His gaze shifted to his hands. He flexed his fingers and briefly examined the portions of his seal that extended past the sleeves. Knowing that she could see it made him feel self-conscious. What judgments had she made about him? If she could craft them, was she knowledgeable enough to know what his crime had been? Did she see him the way the Enclave saw him? Or worse, did she pity him? He wanted to talk to her, to ask, but even that was dangerous. There were rules, both written and unwritten, about how warlocks living outside could interact. The rules were especially strict for those serving time. If he said too much and an investigator found out, the judges would add time. With a sigh, he tipped the can back and choked down the cloying sweetness of syrup in the lukewarm water before tossing the empty can into the trash.